Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Sagittarius, Sun, Moon and Ascendant for the month of December. I hope you're well. Can scarce believe that we're actually on to December already. This year has simultaneously been the longest and the shortest of my life so far, I think. I don't think I'm alone in feeling like that. So, using the Crow Tarot today. This one seems to have bonded to your sign quite well. It comes up quite a lot for Sagittarius. So let's have a look and see. Could I have 3 cards for Sagittarius, please? Cards for Sagittarius. Ooh. Okay, the first 2 cards are the 2 of Cups and the 9 of Pentacles. I really like that for you, Saggy. That's in your recent past. Current energy, please, for Sagittarius. Ooh, 6 of Wands. Excellent. And what's coming towards Sagittarius, please? Ooh, 8 of Swords in reverse. Amazing. Right, I shut the window because, you know, as usual, I start recording a video and then suddenly everybody wants to drive past my house. But we have to let the smoke out, so just bear with me a second. So, at the bottom of the deck we have the Page of Pentacles, and I really like that for you because it indicates to me a change in direction. Right? You have been taken from a path that you were on last year, and through the process of everything that you've experienced this year, you have shifted into a different direction. One that was potentially unobtainable for you, I feel, in the path that you were on last year. Or maybe it was all just part of the process. It's difficult to say. But certainly where you are now seems to be such that where you were last year is almost baffling to you. That's how it feels. Like you put up with so much for such a long time. You know? Now, just cut the deck there and it was the 3 of Swords at the bottom of the deck. There was a lot of unacknowledged pain in you, which has slowly been drawn to the surface. And in the best tradition of Sagittarian energy, you have released it, you've let it go. And it seems like the rewards are just, well, they're just coming in thick and fast. Nauseatingly positive, as I sometimes say. So, let's get some clarifiers for this 2 of Cups and 9 of Pentacles. Ooh. Wow, that's amazing. Tell me about 6 of Wands, please. Ooh. And the 8 of Swords in reverse. 8 of Swords in reverse. Ooh, interesting. I think we may well pull another card. We've got the King of Wands at the bottom of the deck. You could be dealing with a Leo, or this may indicate you. It's difficult to tell at this point, but whichever way that it is, it feels like it's supremely positive. Right? If it's the influence of a Leo in your life, then it's a good one, right? I'm seeing that very strongly. If this is all about you, then this is you powering up, right? This is progression from the Knight, which is the card that usually indicates Sagittarius, to a King. This is a maturation of energy, right? This is feel when you're considering the difference between a Knight and a King, right? The Knights are all about action. They're always constantly on the move, right? Obviously. And they're fighting battles that the King directs them towards. But broadly, their entire life is a battle, right? That's what they live for. It's just what their life is, and they do that. When you start getting into King energy, it feels more like picking your battles, right? Knowing which ones are actually worth fighting. It's having that layer of experience and knowledge to some degree, certainly the wisdom, which is the application of that knowledge, to see what it's worth investing your effort in. And there's a bit more longevity about this, right? The Sagittarian Knight of Wands, very sparky, not committed. The King is committed to a cause, right? And when he knows what that is, then he will send his knights to it, right? You have got to the point now where you are getting better at that. That's awesome. I love it. So, where is that? Sometimes I look at my table and I just have absolute blindness, card blindness. I'm looking for a deck which is right here and I can't see it. Anyway, so in your recent past, we have the Two of Cups and the Nine of Pentacles. And this is really fascinating to me because aside from the obvious interpretation that we have here, which is, you know, that perhaps you have found intimate relationships, romantic or otherwise, that you have managed to maintain your individuality, your independence within. One of the things that came up in the last reading was, the reading before, was this idea that you as a free spirit, like, you've never been trampled by anyone because you just wouldn't stand for it, you know, you just drop, you know, down tools and fuck off because it's not worth your effort. One of the major epiphanies that you had this year was that where it was a matter of somebody who was very close to you, and for some of you this may have been a partner, for others it may be family members or friends, whatever it is, where there's a deep level of emotion concerned, a deep level of intimacy, that's how people get around your boundaries. And so, ironically, you don't notice that you have been trapped by that, right? And what happened was a feeling like you were kind of almost disempowered in some ways, but not in others, because you never lost the Sagittarianness with the wider world. You know, how could you possibly be trapped by anything? Like, you couldn't. But these intimate relationships kind of got around the side and then anchored you in a way that no other relationship could. Now, I feel like that was a kind of a bit of a tower moment for most of the Sagittarians that I'm reading for here, right? There was incredible burden associated with those intimate relationships. And it was something that you didn't acknowledge for such a long time. You just didn't see it. When you did see it, the extent of the burden became clear. I feel like you kind of worked around that, Saggy, right? This was a really, really big lesson for you. And the last couple of readings have been so positive for Sagittarius. I feel like the universe is responding to this new level of wisdom that you are displaying about not only your life and the people in it, but the way that you respond to it too. And that's really, really important. When we get to your current energy, we've got more Leo energy actually. It's fire with the Six of Wands. This is about success, right? It's about victory, right? It's got that crow singing the laurel wreath there. And there are lots of different ways of looking at this, but life just feels really rather good at the moment, Sagittarius. It's like there's been some stuff, and whether you've gone looking for it or whether it just bubbled to the surface by itself, there's a lot of stuff in your consciousness now that wasn't this time last year. And I'm talking about you specifically as a being, rather than, you know, secrets that got revealed or anything like this, right? You understand how you work, and I feel like it's improved a lot of your relationships dramatically. You know, there could have been some healing that's gone on with old relationships that were that were painful. That's possible for some of you. Or it could just be that you've cleared out your social circle and the sphere of influence around you, right? The ones that are here are the ones that are meant to be here. The people that have fallen by the wayside were never meant to be here in the first place. The interesting thing is, the reason why I say it's that is because the two cards that have come out to clarify are both swords. They're the Queen and the Page of Swords, and this is brilliant. Because here you are in that kind of victorious frame of mind. You know, life just feels really, really good at the moment. The relationships feel good. I notice that there's roses all over this, and it could be a significant relationship that is forming part of why you are feeling good at the moment. And in the current climate, managing to feel good about anything is a victory in itself. But this is all about your mental processes. This is all about how you understand the world, yourself, the people around you, all of it, right? We've got these two archetypes here. The Queen of Swords is all about sifting information for me, right? She's sorting out the wheat from the chaff in terms of what is going on inside your head outside of your head, in your environment altogether, your relationships, your circumstances, maybe even your work, whatever. It feels like there's a level of clarity about your thinking that, I don't want to say it feels alien to you, because that's not at all what I mean. What do I mean? It's almost novel, but it's so very familiar at the same time, like rediscovering who you were supposed to be before you ended up trapped by these relationships that were intimate, that tethered you down in some sort of way. Yeah, the Page of Swords is about new ways of thinking about things. It's a card of liberation for me, liberated thinking. If it was the king, we could say that, you know, that is just somebody who can clearly think about a particular situation, you know, all that sort of thing. There's kind of a historic aspect to that. So ever was it thus, that you could think very clearly about things, because the page is here. Like, this is new, but it's also not new. It feels like it's not new. It feels like it was there all along. But there were a lot of other things that were piled on top of it, and it stops you from being able to access it. So I just think it's like that, you know, that student who goes to university to study philosophy, right? And we can assume that there's a certain level of base intelligence there, and a certain propensity towards big thinking, and you are the philosophers of the deck. That's not of the deck, of the zodiac, let's not forget. You know, that contemplation of high ideas is something that is innate within you as a sign. But it feels like it's been newly liberated, newly released. Whatever chatter and crap was over the top of it is now removed, and it's... So, like the student of philosophy, you know, base level intelligence, pretty good, has an idea about how the world works, wants to explore it further, goes to university, and in the first semester gets his mind absolutely blown to the point where you're not even sure if they actually exist anymore, right? I'm talking about that sort of thing. It feels like your mind's been ripped wide open in the best possible way, Sagittarius, because where you have restricted yourself, where you have restricted your thinking, where you did not allow yourself to contemplate too much other, just say other, you know, whatever form that takes for you. And quite likely because of the physical circumstances that you found yourself in, whether that be a marriage or a friendship or family members, something like that, it's just kind of all sloughed off. And now, not only are you ready to explore these new ideas, but you've got a very finely honed, very finely tuned sense of what is correct and not is correct. It doesn't feel like you're exploring ideas for the sake of it. It feels like it's very specific to you, and that's why this sifting energy is here. Yeah? Tell me a bit more about the Page of Swords, please. You're looking for the truth. Oh, interesting. Yeah. You're looking for the truth in the situation, right? In everything. And when I clarified the page, what it is that you're newly considering, what we got is Judgment and the Devil. Judgment is those past situations. Sometimes it can be about resurrecting them, but I don't think that's necessarily true here. It's resurrected objectively with these two sword court cards here. You know, it's active mental contemplation of things without sinking into any difficult emotional energy that is associated with this, right? The Devil indicates toxicity, yes, a certain level of materialism, potentially, but ultimately fear. You know, those things that you've kind of swerved your entire life because a situation will appear and in some way it's triggering off an old wound from a long time ago, where you got very good at kind of cantering away from those at times. it feels like it's open for you to contemplate it now in a way that doesn't feel damaging to you. If anything, all it's doing is empowering you at this point, because you see. And I think there's a certain amount of validation that you're finding in this, because for all you were stuck in difficult circumstances, like there was a little nugget of something inside you that was just kind of knew it was wrong, but didn't really understand how. And what we've got here is the Ace of Cups. We've got the King of Cups at the bottom of the deck. Your emotional space is the one that was in some way, I want to say abandoned, but maybe it's not that far from the truth. You know, the essential core of emotion that makes you you was in some way kind of compressed down into a little, you know, brick of something, and then hidden away, right, to be kept safe over there in some way, right? And this feels like a purification. It feels like a release. We've got all that water being tipped down the hillside. Like, you are now able to access this, and it doesn't feel painful in the way that it used to, because with this King of Cups here, we've got that emotional maturity coming through. It's like you've zoomed through the process of achieving emotional, you know, mastery. I use that word a lot, but emotional engagement, almost, you know. The wisdom that comes from the knowledge of within is what you've got going on here, and oh no, I love it. I'm here for it. What you've got coming towards you, interestingly, is the Eight of Swords in reverse. The Eight of Swords talks about mental cages, right? The swords are words and thoughts, and, you know, whether internally or externally expressed, it's the way that we talk to people, it's the way that people talk to us, it's the way that we think. But with the Eight of Swords, what we've got is that crow trapped there between all those, you know, swords that indicate communication. It's blindfolded too, and this is somebody who feels stuck by the contents of their own head, right? So we're talking about all of those white noise statements that our minds make to us that stop us from doing X, Y, and Z. So I can't do that. I'm not good enough to do that. Blah blah blah. Ultimately, it's white noise because it means fucking nothing, right? Have you put any effort into it? Maybe not. Like, are you not good at something because you haven't been trying? Have you, in fact, avoided doing the thing because you're actually scared of doing it and there's a fear of failure attached to it, you know, and so it's better not to try than to do it and fail at it, you know, that kind of thinking. It's come out in the reverse for you, right? And this is more liberation. This whole reading screams liberation, because you are not trapped by the contents of your own mind, and there's something that's shifting for you in December. And it feels like it's almost symbolic more than anything else, right? It's not like having this enormous epiphany where suddenly you realize that you've been, you know, talking yourself off the ledge of a new start for, you know, over and over again. It's more like there's a thing that occurs and your reaction to it is not the same. It's not what you would have predicted. It is, in fact, you know, just comfortable. That's what I mean. It feels like it's symbolic rather than actual event that frees up your thinking. It shows you how your thinking has been freed up over the course of this year. We've got the Two of Cups again here, and the Seven of Cups. The Seven of Cups deals with illusion. You know, it deals with that. Well, here's the chap, right? And he's in the dark. And in this particular deck, that's important to me because it feels like there's lots and lots of things to choose from, right? But he can't really see into those cups properly. There's something, all that glitters is not gold kind of aspect to it. It's illusory. You can't really see what's in it. And I don't feel like this relates to the same Two of Cups that's over there. I kind of wanted to sit with it for a second. It feels different. you know. It could be that the full extent of the emotional illusion that you found yourself in when you kind of woke up last year, because that's how it felt to me, Sagittarius. You kind of woke up last year and went, the fuck am I doing here? This is, no, not doing it, gone. You know, this year's been about unraveling exactly how you ended up there in the first place, right? This feels like it's relating to that rather than where you find yourself at the moment, because this is cool. I like this. This feels good. This one, not so much, right? That is interesting. Fucking, I've got 2 of Cups at the bottom of this deck here now as well. Let me just pull some cards for the 7 of Cups, please. What's the 7 of Cups here? 10 of Swords. Oh, we are telling the story here. The Fool. Right, okay. I think I'm feeling it now. So, whether you realise it or not, and I feel like Sagittarius, for most of you, you do realise now that this was a thing. You were controlled in a previous relationship, in a previous circumstance that you found yourself in. And when you somehow access that little nugget of emotional truth that was in you, like it was huge. It was a tower moment for you, right? Got the Ace of Swords underneath that. And you understood how not only you were controlled, but you had submitted to that control. You'd allowed it to happen, right? And moved away from it with the 6 of Swords there, right? Bloodied footprints in the snow. Wounded, but moving, ultimately. And that was the important thing for here. Now, we've got the 6 of Pentacles, the Star in reverse, the 3 of Pentacles, and then the Knight of Cups. So where you've been finding your feet this year as an independent, autonomous spirit, fully independent, autonomous spirit, it feels to me like this 2 of Cups, indicative of a previous interpersonal relationship, romantic or otherwise, that you were, you know, engaged with, that kind of left you feeling trapped and stuck and all that sort of thing. It feels like in December, your mind will turn not from putting yourself onto your own 2 feet, right, and learning how that feels properly when you're doing it entirely, but to the nature of this relationship, right? Because I feel like you've been thinking very much about you this year, and that's exactly what you should have been doing, 100%, right? And that's how you understand that your reaction has been, you know, X, Y, and Z to something, but but perhaps the contemplation of that relationship, rather than your response to that relationship, is something that you've not engaged with that much. I see you doing that here in December. We've got the 6 of Pentacles, which indicates that balance coming to it, right? We've got the Star in reverse, the 3 of Pentacles, and the Knight of Cups. The Star in reverse is interesting because the Star in the upright is about connection, right? That's what it says to me. It can talk about, you know, hope and healing and wishing and all that sort of thing. But ultimately, for me, it speaks of connection. It coming out in the reverse is understanding where I think that essential intimacy and that essential connection was missing. Like you were kind of rubbing along together because it's what you had always done. Whether this was a spouse or a friend or a family member, you know, it doesn't really matter, and it's going to be different for each of you. But understanding that that connection wasn't there, and in fact the only thing that really was there was shared history. In terms of a shared future, no, actually, it doesn't seem like it's here. And this is interesting because this 3 of Pentacles is slightly different to usual ones. There we go. You see that little boy and he's kissing the feet of the woman there. I think that realised that you were blinded to the bad bits by the good bits. Now, I don't mean that you didn't notice the bad bits when they were there, but it feels like you kind of pushed that down. Yes, they're annoying and they do this thing, or yes, they're overly critical, or yes, they're overly harsh, maybe a little bit controlling in some ways, but you always found something about them, which is what you elevated in order to keep yourself where you were. And it was out of love. You know, we've got this Knight of Cups here. There was something quite pure at heart of yours. Now, as we've already said, like your heart kind of got squashed into a little compressed brick and hidden out of the way somewhere, but there was a little bit of it remaining. There was loyalty there, and there was compassion. Could be that there was, you know, maybe some sort of event that kept you together. Maybe one of you was ill, maybe one of you had had a, you know, a serious kind of life event thing. And out of loyalty and respect and probably a sense of care and duty, you stayed around that circumstances for years longer, right, than really was comfortable, ultimately. This is interesting, right? And it might not be exactly about you, but it is kind of about you, and it's the next step of things to unravel. Now, when I clarified this Seven of Cups, this emotional illusion here, what we got was the Ten of Swords, followed by the Page of Cups and the Fool. Now, this is interesting because, like I said, it's all about illusion. It's all about things not being quite the way that you think they are. Like, were these your emotions? Right? Were you engaging with the wrong emotions to stay where you were? I think possibly you might have been. Rather than a clear assessment of what the circumstances were right now that you found yourself in, and whether you wanted to continue or not to continue, you know, kind of call an end to it. There were a number of emotions associated with this, and ultimately they're what led to you being restricted, being kind of heartbroken, and I think possibly the other person has had some sort of reaction to it as well. You don't end something that's been going for a very long time, whether it's family or friends or relationships or whatever, without there being fallout for both. But it feels like you were blinded to this, because I kind of want to put this card behind here. You were blinded to this by this, right? And understanding that is as important as everything else. But once you do understand that, we've got this Page of Cups here with the Fool. The Page of Cups is about small messages of love, right? And sometimes I see that as an apology. I absolutely do not see that as an apology here. I don't think that you can expect an apology from whoever it was that you were dealing with. And I don't feel like you feel particularly compelled to offer an apology either. And that's fine. But this talks about forgiveness and compassion, right? You have access to emotions now that you didn't have before. And whether you like it or not, this person was actually kind of a catalyst for you discovering that. Yes, they hurt you and it was very, very uncomfortable for a very long time, but ultimately you kept yourself there. This is the thing, right? Take responsibility for that. But if you detach from this, detach from the emotion of it, right? And you consider the fact that you are a soul living a human existence at this point, and presumably that you are here to learn particular lessons. This person's delivered that lesson for you. Right? And however long it took you to work that lesson out, that's on you. But ultimately they did their job. And it feels like whatever difficult emotions you have with regard to this person, and it could be that there is some resentment, it could be that there is some bitterness, it could be that there is actually still like a little pocket of hurt there. Try and find a way to forgive them for it. I'm not saying forget about it, but forgiveness is the first step in letting go properly of something. And this Fool here, you know, it's one of the cards that shrieks fully about liberation and freedom and an open-hearted movement and joy and all that sort of thing, right? Whatever is still kind of hanging around, this is an opportunity to let it go. And like I said, I feel like something's it feels like there's going to be some sort of thing that happens that is associated with this person. And maybe 6 months ago, you'd have flipped your biscuits about it, right? Really lost your shit. I don't see you doing that now. And I feel like it's the act of not doing it that you catch yourself in and you go, oh shit, it doesn't actually mean anything to me at all. Maybe it's just discovering that you've actually undergone this process and it's happened subconsciously and you weren't even aware of it. But whatever it is, its hold on you is not nearly as strong as you thought it was, right? It's like a wake-up call of the most beautiful kind. I love this for you, Saggy. Right. If this has resonated with you at all, there is an extended. The link should be down there in the description box. I'm going to go over to Vimeo now and kind of explore this a little bit more. But I genuinely, I do think that I can't even speak. I do think that this is really excellent. Right? Pretty much all of the signs have done so much work on themselves this year. It's an absolute pleasure and honour to have watched it unfold. But, you know, here we are, we're coming into December and it is coming to the end of the year. It is like everybody's getting their scorecards, you know, their report cards for the year, and everybody's done really, really well. Really, really well. And I think you should be very proud of yourself. I know I'm very proud of you. So, yeah, if you're interested in the extended, come on over there. If not, if this is where we part ways, then that's all cool too. I just want you all to know that I love you very much, and I will catch you for mid-December, just before Christmas. All right, take care.